Alright folks, welcome back everyone. 皆さんおかえりなさい。今日は27日目です。It is day 200 and it is day 27. Sorry. It's gonna be very difficult for me to break the habit of starting in the hundreds. But we'll see. It's good for a gag. So, Manifest, you mentioned how do I approach learning grammar? You're thinking about learning grammar after memorizing quite some kanji. I learned grammar case by case. So Duolingo started with sentences, right? And that's how they differ for sentences. So I learned grammar specifically by applying all the grammar rules when I'm reading sentences. So Duolingo was where I started. So let's like do the carrier things. So Duolingo, right, has a implicit sentence structuring, which is limited. It's passive, largely because you can game it, right, by gaming it. However, for my purposes, most of the time when I'm gaming or learning, however you want to say it, I don't differentiate between gaming or learning. So whenever information is presented to me, which in this case Duolingo uses sentences outside of the kanji section and whatnot. So because of that, I am encouraged to know the nuance of its construction. That's typically my habit. So when you say how do I approach learning grammar, I typically think of the nuances of its composition as a whole. And then in order for me to stay active, because if it becomes passive, it would become tedious and grindy, right? So my active is through the application of cross-referencing. I want to know how the parts come together. Because of the cross-referencing, it is motivated because my memory technique that I rely on is association. So association reduces efficiency. That means that this memory type and this approach, you're going to slow down and you're going to increase. Time is going to increase. And the idea is I'm progressively creating more associations at the cost of my efficiency. Time goes up, but the tasks that I do also goes up. So in Duolingo in the beginning, if you look through, the beginning is incredibly laboriously long to the onlooker. The onlooker would say like, well, you know the answer. What's the point of saying the entire sentence out while thinking in my head all the particular grammar points that apply to the same exact sentence over and over again? That's to increase vigilance. So initially it's active because I would have to cross-reference it. So Tofuku was my go-to source to do the first active thing. Then when you're practicing, it becomes a passive routine. So like, oh, you've seen the sentence before, but you're still going to go through the routine of saying, well, this is a non-pass phrase marked with a topic marker and an object marker. So every time I'm speaking, I see like watashi pronoun, wa topic marker. So I kept doing that. And eventually, when you practice a passive thing, efficiency goes back up, right? Efficiency goes back up. So at some point, you're like automating, oh, topic marker followed by a subject marker where it has direct object, optional direct object. It can be applied based on the conjugation of, right, etc. So what happens is when the efficiency goes up, I do this again. And this time I focus on a different grammar structure or a different conjugation. And then while vocabulary is going up, right? Vocabulary when you learn the vocabulary at first, it'll be an active process. But the moment it becomes encoded, it becomes a passive process, which then efficiency can go up. So I repeat this cycle the first time I learning grammar. So this is for the Duolingo portion. Wanikani, on the other hand, is very different, since Wanikani, then comes the second year and we got into Wanikani, and that requires all of these things to be present. So the things that I took from Duolingo has to be integrated into Wanikani. So how I do Wanikani instead is that on top of Wanikani's, active and like routine that it does, where it learns radicals, character developments, and then vocabulary. Generally, the whole grammar part of Wanikani and routine is that I remember the parts of speeches, and where I could find it in the sentence structure. So instead of now asking myself, oh, is this a particle? Where does this, what is it doing in this exact sentence? Wanikani doesn't rely on sentences. So now all the radicals and the characters are creating meaning that I would then place into sentences. So every time I think about, like, if I learn, I don't know, miso shiru, I know where to place it. So it's like, okay, well, this is a noun. I can probably order it. Miso shiru o kudasai. So that would be a structure that comes from Duolingo, which then when I read a vocabulary, I would phrase and think of the vocabulary as an aid in a sentence structure with grammar that I understand. So those then become my mnemonic devices that are integrated with Wanikani's unique mnemonic devices. So that's what I've been doing in the second year. That means that while I learn grammar, the hot take here is most of the stuff that I learn, they're learned eventually. Once they're learned, like, you learn them, like read the text and whatnot, explicit. That's typically how people learn grammar. They do explicit. I maintain them and quote unquote practice them through application and cross application. So learning grammar ended up really being an application of memorizing vocabulary, and that's where we start, right? If I have to memorize kanji and vocabulary, it is incentivized by its presentation to learn grammar. And then Bunpro does explicit grammar. So all of they do explicit grammar and then grammar by demonstration. So now I can integrate my Wanikani stuff. So now we're going into year 3, where Bunpro provides your Genki textbook, Peikins, all of that built together into an SRS system. So the reason why I'm still sticking to the SRS system, because it's complementing Wanikani. So now Bunpro, we are doing grammar in a specific way with a learning portion, and the learning portion is explicitly reading the grammar structure. However, Bunpro provides a bunch of graded sentences examples. So now I can read all of the sentences, already am familiar with the sentence structures and examples. Now I can read the explicit ways they explain things in English. So things like an adjectival phrase, nominalizers, standard, polite, assertive, exhaustive, non-exhaustive, all those specific words, because I want to be able to describe that grammar now. And meanwhile, we get to, every time we see a sentence, we can recruit all of what we know from Duolingo and all of what we know from Wanikani. So I'm also doing vocabulary again, Bunpro style. But their vocabulary style is to create a card, give you all the Jisho ones and their summary of the Jisho, Jisho definition list, and then they include pitch accent, which we've already started incorporating pitch accent, and then example sentences that are graded. So now we can do all of that all together at the same time, but with a different presentation. So this year, around halfway through, WaniKani still has like 5 or 6 months for the exposure. We developed our mnemonic system that is necessary to create radical character and vocabulary associations on the spot. Duolingo provides the all-around thing that we built on. So like the character kanji section was built upon by WaniKani. Then the grammar inference and application from the first year is built from Bunpro. And when we're doing this, right, naturally then we've come to the point where it's easy to understand someone when they speak to me and type to me, and I can respond in a way that is dealing with the construction of the grammar that I know, and specifically using those specific, like be able to pick out specific vocabulary from someone's question and respond based on the specific things, because it doesn't require that high of a grammar structure to be able to respond. So grammar. And then the very quick TLDR is that the approach to learning grammar, although not necessary technically, right? A lot of people say it's not necessary, but maybe very encouraging, is that I view grammar as an opportunity for application when reading sentences and graded sentences, vocabulary and kanji, are dull. So the whole goal of all of this, and I have a plan for Bunpro and whatnot, is to, when you learn something, which is basically, if it's explicit, it's going to be exposure. So the moment you read it, its reinforcement and acquisition is through application. So you want to read maybe you want to read sentences that you want, then go read the grammar that help you deconstruct the sentence, and that would be the way I have done it myself. And now we're doing it explicitly. So when we're doing it explicitly, I use that as an application for me to use my WaniKani and my vocabulary from Duolingo and my WaniKani radicals and characters. So whenever I'm reading a grammar point, like a grammar point is very dull, right? It's kind of dry. It tells you like, oh, this is a Japanese expression, like nisuru. This is a Japanese expression for decide, like eliciting the idea of having made a decision on something, like deciding on something. So that's kind of dry, but you read the example sentences, then you can recruit everything you've learned from Duolingo and WaniKani, so that what you're doing now is reading grammar is an application of what I learned in Duolingo and WaniKani. So the answer to pretty much most things about learning is, in order to finish learning it, you have to learn and apply it. So that would be my shortest way, right? Memorizing is great. Without application, it doesn't come together. And then not seeking association means that it will eventually block you from comprehension. And that's kind of what we're at right now. Yeah. Now we're gonna get into our honeymoon of our second day of our Bunpro stuff. So we're in the honeymoon period of our grammar. We have all of February to practice our N5 grammar concepts that is actually completely covered by Duolingo. So most of these grammar points have been covered, and we're giving ourselves a month to mess around, find new applications to practice these grammar cards. while it will be another month before we cover all of our N5 vocabulary, which there are already a few that wasn't in Wanikani yet, because Wanikani does like a staggered state with vocabulary. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. All right, so we have 20 vocabulary lessons today for Bunpro. Okay, これから we have a grammar point 4. I think not really. I guess kara would be the part of the grammar point. So how do I integrate Duolingo and Wanikani lessons is that I can add notes that generate. So when I read sentences, it applies my Duolingo routine that I haven't done for a year now. Well, that I haven't done explicitly for a year now. So this routine of reading sentences, hearing sentences, and looking at them has been baked and bootstrapped by Duolingo. And then I can always add notes, which then if I encounter a vocabulary word, because this is where the Wanikani side comes in, if I encounter a vocabulary word that I don't know or maybe have trouble reading, this is an exception because it's a sentence structure word that's written in kana, I can add a note and I can generate a new mnemonic based on the radicals and characters that I have already known. So if I have any trouble vocabulary words, I can use the technique and the routine that I've like iterated on from Wanikani. And then additionally, since I'm learning Chinese, right, and learning to read Chinese, I can recruit anything from Hanzahiro at the same time. Hanzahiro's routine is the same as Wanikani's routine. They're baked into each other. Yep. And then you do that like over the course of thousands of hours. And what happens is if you ask me how I remember this term, I would be able to spend like 3 to 4 hours going over the routines that would be involved, but it would take me maybe like 30 seconds to 1 minute to do all of them, right? And then the idea is that I don't have to do all of those steps. I simply do the ones that would get me the answer. And then I practice here and there to make sure all the other routines are in line. All right. これから from now on. So we got toru. Toru is to take. I think we're okay with this. The toru. Let's see how many. So because I know these vocabulary words based on like 3 or 4 high frequency definitions, I basically now, since Bunpro tries to be comprehensive, I look for things that I don't know. So like things like actually to subscribe to, I have an example of. So now we're just looking and seeing interesting things that do not exist in my memory right now. And Bunpro has their special summary, which is nice because it tries, in my opinion, to unify all of the Jisho entries. Accept something from another and hold it in your possession, opposite of give. Yep, we have the to pass, to hand, to give, right? To take and to give can seem a little opposite of each other, but I do have an example of each of these. To adopt. Okay. I can see that. To remove. So it kind of goes in both directions. To eat. Oh, like to take it. Yes. That's probably special. Yeah, there it is. Pick up flowers. To secure. To reserve. I can see that. Record. To charge. Oh, to take taxes. To compete. Oh, interesting. Oh, to play. Oh, yeah. Chinese actually has one of these things. All right. Saigo. Fair enough. Saigo, the last, final, end. No sooner than once right after. See how that works out. Interesting. One final moment. That character. Alright. Miseru. Miseru is to display something to another person for the purpose of being looked at. We can compare this to mieru, which is to be visible, and then miru to look at, to look or see. And then there are obviously two mirus. One for watching and other for like, the watching one is very specific. And then we have miseru. You can argue that to display something to another person is to make it visible to another person, but to become visible is a little different, right? Something that is becoming or had become visible versus another person, another thing or person making it visible, which makes this transitive. Ue, so above, right? Any form of above, even figurative or literal. And then aforementioned, anything dealing with like aforementioned things or things that come before can also be it, along with status. Okay. Saki, that's like first, tip, any form of things in the front, even future, you know, the edge. Interesting. Destination address. Okay. The time frame immediately prior to now, or a location immediately ahead of oneself. Yeah, nice. That's a great way. Honto, proper, right, genuine, truth, reality. It's interesting that it does not have really a word that indicates that something is truthful or simply used as an expression to show surprise. Yeah, that show surprise part at the end. Like, really? Are you sure? Honto desu ka? Itsu? Itsu is when? Not too much about that. Just referring to a non-specific time, right? Then we have ato. Ato, it's both behind in the rear, but after temporally, right? Or something that is remaining. Then you can describe people, time, etc. And usually people is a fairly common use as an adjective. The things that come after. Okay. And then and then go for after, it's a suffix for time. I don't think I've seen go in any other context when it's the onyomi. This is the onyomi. Oh, and they don't, Bunpro does not differentiate between onyomi and kunyomi. They simply say it's a read. So because of wanikani, when I see a character, I pretty much think of 3 or 4 reads. The nice ones are, you know, there are ones that only have onyomi, and then there are ones that have onyomi, kunyomi, multiple kuns. Most of the time it's multiple kuns, less so multiple ons, but there are multiple ons. And then there's nanos, nanomis. We had 1 so far that I'm aware of. So go in gogo, or go in something go. You can have other things that indicate that it's after. Let's see if we have an example. After a time, right? After some minutes, within minutes, and whatnot. What's a nanomi? I have no idea. It's neither kunyomi or onyomi. And the example I have is in oba and oji. Yeah, I have no idea. They just label it like that. I didn't look it up, but you can look it up. That's the categorization. It only occurs once, so I haven't really delved into it at the moment. Okay, shikoshi. Shikoshi, a little bit in every sense, right? Distance, time, amount. Shikoshi. I think it's referring to Nanomi. Let me see. Oh, Nanami. Nanami. Alright. No, not Nanami. Just kidding. Maybe it stands for Nanomi. Hold up. I'm guessing it's just whichever. Like, don't know. Not sure. Read Japanese characters. I literally have not looked it up. Oh, Nanori. Nanori. Sorry, Nano. Or no. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Nanori. Oh, Nanori. Yeah, Nanori. Not Nanami. Nanori. I only remember the nan part. So they're non-standard kanji character reading pronunciations found almost exclusively in Japanese names. Oh, well, there you go. Does that mean name? No, I don't know. But yeah, so there you go. I don't know what that has to do with oba and oji, but I'll take it. This is according to Wikipedia. Yeah, there's ateji too, but this is not this would ateji would probably include it in nanori, probably, because I don't think it's only the reads of character reads. It's whatever's outside of kunyomi and onyomi. So even though you're saying ateji, I'm sure the categorization is that nanori is anything outside of kunyomi and onyomi, so that would include ateji. Let's see. Minasan. Okay, without the right. Minasan. I'm kind of curious if they have 2 entries for this. No, or that use a polite suffix to refer to all people. Right? Zen zen. Not at all, not in the slightest, not particularly. And then when in a negative context, it would be the reverse. So in the negative context, it would be the opposites, sort of. Like, it's kind of, this one has often been funny, but it's fine. Like a negative sentence in a negative context. The negative context typically refers to totally or wholly, while a negative sentence would be like not at all, particularly, not in the slightest. And I usually just think of it as at all. Okay. Okay. Right. Ukeru. Ukeru. No grammar point about this yet. That contrast is between, like, there's no, I was expecting some comment about ukeru when having comments about もらう、あげる and くれる but they didn't make like a slight outside things like, oh well, you know, there's also ukeru, and there's obviously more. Loaning and borrowing will be a concept eventually as well. To allow something to enter your space either mentally or physically. That's interesting. Opposite of bestow, right? To be struck by wind, waves, sunlight. Interesting. Yeah, I can see that. To sustain damage, yeah, to occur. Except like except burdens and harm, like, yeah, undergo surgery. Interesting. To be given life. Accepting, yeah. To follow, to succeed, to be descendant from. Huh. Well, I guess we'll find out if some of these are in the example sentences. And then not safe for work. Okay. Alright. Domo. Domo. You know, I think this flips when you add arigato. It seems like the NS filter is a bit buggy. What do you mean it's a bit buggy? In what manner? I didn't interact with the NSFW. It censors to find funny. It's censored. Oh, interesting. For what term is that? Like, omoshiroi or something. Omoshiroi? And ukeru. Oh, is that what is it? It to find funny? Interesting. Do you think it's buggy? Let's find it out. I don't see any obvious idiosyncrasies that would make it not safe for work. It's censoring things that aren't NSFW, so that seems like a bug. Well, you don't know. You've noticed it happen on other instances too. That's fair. That's fair. But you don't know if they're bugs. Like, because you're saying it's censoring things that aren't NSFW. I don't know if it's not NSFW. For example, to find funny, are they censoring it based on the idea that if you're using the term ukeru to mean James, hold your horse. Now, when they're censoring things, the English is not NSFW. I totally get that, right? And then I understand that it's coming from Jisho. That still is not what I'm trying to say that I'm supposing you're listening to me is that you can't know if it's not NSFW by the intent of what it means. Like, I'm not sure, because if you use ukeru as to find funny, I don't know if that's not NSFW. If you know what I mean. Like, I'm saying, using the Japanese as that definition, are they referring to that as not NSFW? Because most of the words like crotch, groin, grope, masturbation, they still show up, like in English. Like that the NSFW, like the NSFW didn't like censor. At least maybe that reinforces the reason why you think it's buggy, but I had no reason to believe that it was because they're censoring English. I thought, my impression was it could be explained that they're trying to censor the Japanese usage of it. But hey, that might be trying to be a little too fair to them, and you can assume it's a bug, right? So that's what I'm trying to say. They do censor things that in English is not NSFW. I agree with you. So whether that's a bug or not, you should definitely raise it up with the Bunpro team, right? Or maybe see if there's a notification for NSFW being bugging. But whether they pulled straight from Jisho, that doesn't tell me that the usage for that intent is NSFW. So like when you say ugeru to try to mean funny, how do you know you're not unintentionally making a derogatory NSFW choice of using it? Right? That's what I thought they were censoring. So I'm offering an alternative perspective, but hey, the logic you are using to you doesn't really work because the translations are giving the closest English sense. The logic you are using is assuming that there is that it is translatable in every sense without the nuance. So your logic doesn't work because you're assuming that everything is translated and that Jisho captures all the nuances of its use case. Like, so by your logic, then groin, crotch, masturbation should have been censored. So since it's not censored, it must be a bug. Right? Like, I'm saying these words. If you think they're NSFW, then they should be censored. They're the closest given sense. Yeah, you're saying it's probably bugged, right? But then I'm trying to say something and you dismiss it by stating obvious things that we both know mutually. So your argument for the probably bugged, yes, it's probably bugged. I agree with you. I was saying that when you said censoring things that aren't NSW so that it seems like a bug, I don't think you know that. Like, I think that it would be a leap of logic to assume that when you see a translation and you're assuming that the translation are giving the closest English sense, somehow that the NSW, it would guarantee that it would likely not be NSFW based on its English translation. I can assure you there are quite a lot of words, at least in my opinion, have been used in a derogatory way despite it being translated in English to seem like it's not NSFW because there's a loss in translation. If anything I could appreciate about this is I don't know enough to know if ukeru being used as to find funny is to find funny in a derogatory way. I mean, yes, Jisho could write, oh, this is derogatory, so it's NSFW, right? Fair enough. Then we would assume there are errors or missing information on Jisho. Vulgar terms are marked as vulgar usually. Exactly. So let's go back to your drawing and using your logic. If you think your logic is based on the assumption that it's taken from Jisho, and then Jisho is incapable of bugs, then the logic would dictate that Bunpro has a bug and Jisho is not capable of errors. Which then goes back to your initial logic that, well, then Jisho could not mark things too. Now, I don't know if that's the case. I did find a couple reasons to say that certain things are lighter in a culture than other things, but I don't know. Like the word queer, for example, could be NSFW based on the context of the cultural difference, despite its English translation being, you know, fluid or whatnot. But thank you for bringing to my notice. So I'm still not going to click on the NSFW during stream, whether it's a bug or not. So feel free to chime in on what you think should be available. I'm still not clicking on the unmasked thing, right? And here's a thing that is concerning. If you say it's a bug, maybe they're not masking things that are vulgar or derogatory, but since you're assuming the leap of logic that Jisho will be usually marking vulgar and derogatory things, then having an NSFW filter is an interesting design choice by Bunpro. As in, if it's said to be derogatory or vulgar, you can use English to navigate and circumvent the idea that it is vulgar or derogatory. So I'm genuinely curious if what are their motivations behind an NSFW filter in the first place, if you're saying that Jisho usually mention those things. So they would use a word and they would translate around that word and demonstrate that it's usually vulgar or derogatory, I suppose. So that brings up a really interesting question. Why do they have it in the first place? I will look for it. I'll go in the evening and maybe see if people believe that it's bugged or not, and then what the Jisho team has to say about it. Yeah, I probably would send the dev team a notice that the NSFW term, filter doesn't work. I already encountered a bunch of words like groin, masturbation, and whatnot, arousal, ejaculation, or the other words like yaru. Yaru has a derogatory, or not a derogatory, but a vulgar translation in it, and I did not see the NSFW. Let's go check. For the record, I'm not that sensitive to NSFW things when it comes to language, but here it is. Let's see if it's so. This must be new because I didn't see these in the first place. So let's see if it did the ones that. Oh, that's bugged. So this is a bug. To harm, to injure. No, these are good. But these aren't. To undertake, to perform. So I would agree with you. It's probably bugged. Actually, this sensor wasn't there before. So I probably agree with you. Part of it is not working and part of it is working. Because this was some of them masked the primary meaning, which is kind of weird. What's another one that I can think of? Most of it is sexual related. I'll probably have to think it out. This is a digression, so I don't want to digress any more into that. Yeah, it seems to work properly sometimes and not others. I suppose it's not a huge deal, but good to be aware of. Well, yeah. One can just assume you have information that you don't have. So when you test the vocabulary word, probably get it. Right. Anyways. Thanks. Thanks for raising the bug thing. I'm still gonna say that it's not possible to really know what is NSFW or not. So my personal motivations are the idea is that what is NSFW is I don't actually know their motivation behind it. Hey. Oka. That's the other, another place, another person, like just the other thing. A standard way to refer to a broad category of things that do not fit in a group currently, right? The out group. Yeah, you can't know before you click it. Which I'm not going to. So I know that the reason I picked Yaru because I did read that. I did read that the first time. Yaru was one of the earlier ones. And I'm aware of a lot of the common ones in N5 that can mean things of sexual nature. Yep. Kimochi. Kimochi, something close to kimochi, some sort of feelings. Some sort of feeling words would deal with a sexual nature. So not this one. I don't think I covered that yet. Let's search up feel good. Yeah, here it is. Oh, wait, is that a vocab? Yes. Oh, no, that's not the one I'm looking for. Oh, these are unclassified? There is one. What is it? I was gonna test the not safe for work filter because kimochi is feelings, but there is also an extended version. I think it's off kimochi that deals with like coitus. It deals with coitus. That probably will have an NSFW, and we could test if it works. Soda's fine. From memory. By heart. I don't know how that I don't know how that is being used. Sorate. Interesting. Atama. Leader, yeah, the head. Top tip. Beginning, right? The head of something. This is not safe for work. Hang on, let me see. I can do this once. Oh yeah, that is totally safe for work. Yeah, this is pair colloquial. Yeah, even the character is referring to. When did you notice that the thing came into effect, like the NSFW filter? But was it always there? I'm not, I don't know if it was always there. I only noticed it eventually, so. Okay. When you first put it on. Oh, like it was always there when I was streaming? When I first put it on? You noticed the colloquial marker was on both the bug terms. Not sure if that's a factor. There are quite a lot of colloquials that aren't filtered. When I first activated it? Oh, did I activate it? Let me see. Where would I have activated? I didn't change it. I never activated it. It was probably on by default. Yeah, I see here. It says show NSFW content. I never changed it. I don't recall ever changing this. So I didn't activate anything. I didn't even know it exists. I was kind of curious, like, when I activated it. Oh, that's interesting. I found it. I found the setting. I needed to look in the account settings. It's right above, the setting is right above, it's in general settings. And it's above high TTS audio. Maybe I did activate it. Who knows? I don't understand why. I know that they had the high TTS audio. So I did read through this. I did read through these settings. So there could be a chance that I clicked on it. Like I clicked on the choices and then it flipped to no at some point. But I only looked at the settings once. It was in the beginning. Like the very first stream, like the first 2 days of stream. So if it showed up a little bit later, I haven't looked at these settings in a while. The other setting place that I looked at was in your account settings. You can activate features in beta. You can activate the conjugation thing and the grammar library page overhaul. Interesting. Well, now we know. I will. Here's the deal, right? Here's the compromise. I will probably say it's probably safe for work if it's like within the top 4. You know what I mean? Like I rarely ever think that a primary use outside of various words, right? Various words that are meant to be vulgar. I rarely think that the vast majority of the vocabulary is where if it's blurred on top, it would be something that is not safe for work. So let's go with that compromise to alleviate our possibilities. Although I do have to make a disclaimer. Generally, I talk about these things fairly calmly and consensus. I mean, there are quite a lot of Twitch encounters over the years that asked me like, oh, so if I wrote like a specific explicit, Procall does this quite a lot. If I wrote a particular explicit, when you read the message, do you edit it? Do you self-edit it? And my answer to that is yes, and I'm not apologetic for it. Because largely I would use a euphemism or I would use my particular placeholders. And then you can particularly decide if it's not safe for work or not, right? Like, it is not my duty to tell you that if I say heck, which I do say quite a lot, sometimes I say crappy. Some people say like, well, why don't you just say the actual word that you mean? And I'm like, I do mean the word crappy and heck. So that's kind of like one of those NSFW things. Like, oh, like when someone's talking about the crotch or the groin or the genitalia, right? And then sometimes I would throw in like a coitus, and I really do mean those words because they're used for the intended purpose of being either crude or sly or clever. Yeah. I wonder have you encountered a NSFW that would be required for a filter? I'm not entirely sure why I'm still the jury's out for me on the motivations behind NSFW when it comes to words, like linguistic purposes. I mean, the warning of vulgarity and derogatory and history, that's historical stuff. I tend to be like, yeah, I understand. Like yesterday, Jazz asked me about goober, and when I was looking up all the meanings of goober, because I was trying to explain the origin of my use of the goober, there is a colloquial archaic use of goober that is supposed to be derogatory towards the American Southern, and whether it is still like relevant today, kind of an important thing, right? And I can understand that. So knowing this is kind of important to me, at least. Like you said, it is important to be aware of it, because knowing it is not the same as implying of doing it. And that's for a language learning app or a language learning app / site. I'm not entirely sure what the motivation is behind having an NSFW filter when you're describing the use of its word. I wonder how they're doing it too from the Jishol entry. Are they detecting specific words like what was our last one? Oh, it was air. It's better for kids. I'm not entirely sure if I agree with that, but yeah, fair enough. Pear. I don't know how pear. And yeah, the mistaken one so far for all shares the colloquial marker. Oh, intriguing. Now we're on to something. Hold up, so let's see what happens if I click on this thing. So it doesn't necessarily, yeah, so it doesn't necessarily filter for this. So I guess we're gonna keep an eye out on the colloquial marker. Like atama, for example, atama, right? This definition out of context, right? It's NSFW. You might be thinking, well, okay, is it better for kids to... Is it better? Like, you might be thinking, oh, okay, well, it just means, you know, a person's head, right? That's obvious. So that's my illustration of I'm not entirely sure if I would know hair, but it does say it's in Mahjong. So uh I know yeah, I know this, but it's interesting. Watama wa ukeru could definitely be NSFW indirectly translated. Yeah, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we already got Saki, right? Saki and Atama, right? And that's I'm laughing. I'm laughing about this whole situation in general. And I understand it's better for kids. I definitely, it's one of those things. I like to think that kids aren't busy. Like, this is my personal preference. Other people would be like, other people have different looseness in their vocabulary and their mannerisms. I like to think that this doesn't, like, kids aren't spending all their time focusing on how they can make everything derogatory, right? Like, or scandalous or sexualized. So I like to hope that's not the case still. It's really hard for me to my comment. I think you make a really fair point that it's better for kids. And some part of my cynicism, bear with me here. The internet has like eroded a lot of that, a lot of my favoritism towards timing and sheltering information versus like it's making me lean towards the cynical side of things when it comes to like, do I have to weigh awareness, right? Awareness over protection and timing. And that's kind of why I might sound a little bit apprehensive about I'm trying to explain a little bit about why I might disagree with, yeah, it's better for kids. Some part of me, because of the internet, like TikTok and stuff, right? That's exactly it. Like TikTok and streaming and whatnot. The idea that a lot of this stuff is no longer policed or moderated in some way because it would be like a infraction on, I don't know, freedom of speech. Or I know this is coming from like an Americanized centric thing, but part of me has this constant conflict between awareness, like ripping off the band-aid, and creating early awareness, which is, I feel, is unfair a bit to someone that doesn't have a choice, right? But this is a cyclic argument because if you're doing protection and timing, you're also removing the choice, and that's kind of a rough. This question is often incredible morally debatable and hesitant topic that I have all the time. Like, what's too soon? What's not soon enough? And then the element of what's old enough to make choices. And for myself, I still respect that you take into consideration of protecting and timing youth. I actually lean on this quite a lot in the way I talk about what people should be encouraged to do when they're younger. However, this part is consistently negative whenever being talked about. Like, oh, how much is too much information, right? Too much information. And I can assure you, I totally feel for streaming, right? For streaming, especially on TikTok, for example, negligence is a great word. And meanwhile, obviously, we can choke indirectly about these things. Like, here's a part of my cynicism, or like other people's cynicism that I've come to acquire. Cartoons, right? When you think of, we don't have to necessarily think about TikTok. We can think about cartoons. Adults make cartoons, right? It's not that kids make cartoons for kids. Although AI and machine learning would beg to differ, but kids don't make cartoons for kids. Adults make content for kids, right? And in that way, whenever you think about like Looney Tunes, like I grew up watching Looney Tunes, Tiny Toons, and what have you, and the adults, I kind of see it as not safe for work. And not in the sense of, now we're not talking about like sexuality and whatnot. I'm talking about violence, like the act of trivializing violence in a solution to make it funny, right? And then there's comedy, and this is the stuff that we're not gonna quite touch here, but it is a ever evolving thing. I genuinely want to hear Bunpro's devs on how they're doing it. And having it buggy is it's very concerning. Not necessarily to me, but assuming that a child who is too young to be exposed to wanting to know the meanings that can be attached to a character on Bunpro is interesting. And then we have Kane. Okay. Which is not quite, but I can see that. So Kane and Okane, it can also be Jin, or yeah, it can also be Jin in that. So there must be another entry, like as a standalone. There's a very special, I think this character has a special situation. A standard way to refer, like as a standalone, not as part of another, like a Jukuko. A standard way to refer to various forms of currency in terms of the worth may also refer to basic metal. Okay. So now the question is, do I remember everything? Having talked about NSFW, now I am a bit tempted in clicking all of them, or I could turn it off. So what could happen in an NSFW? Probably swear words, right? Or English swear words, I suppose. We'll keep it on. I'll make that compromise on clicking on the top ones. Okay.
これから何をするの?
To pick up a gun. Of all the things to say, of all the examples. What kind of verb do we have for pick up? Probably like to take.
銃を手に取る。
最後の問題まで解く。
あなたの手を見せてください。
Upper. Oops.
彼は上の階にいます。
この先にコンビニがある。
How, James, have you like watched any content lately of like kind of mischievous Japanese conversation? Have you ever engaged in like listening or seeing what your comprehension is like when you're reading or hearing mischievous Japanese? I actually haven't. I don't do that out of habit. So like what I mean is the content that I consume are really like kind of stale and far from those things. So I'm not entirely sure. I mean, the closest ones would be like yelling and, you know, wishing harm to the other person, like in a fight anime or something like a shonen Jump series where people are like cursing at each other and stuff. But I don't think I've know if I can even comprehend when someone's being like, actually, I take it back. We might actually see some of that. We might actually hear some of that in Kiwami 3. Like for the longest time, right, since I don't actually know Japanese then, when the translation, you know, when the subtitles are available for English, they're usually pretty mild, but that might be a cultural difference. So I haven't necessarily thought about the Japanese that is supposed to be a bit like salacious and whatnot. Is that the word I'm looking for? Salacious? Like slanderous? Yeah, salacious. Not technically slanderous, but more like inappropriate interest in sexual matters. True. Oops.
この話は本当だ。
Which when are we talking about? Then help. Oh.
誕生日はいつですか？
彼の後をクマが歩いている。
1年半後に大学を卒業します。
コップに少しのお茶が入っている。
皆さん聞いてください。
私は日本語が全然わからない。
罰を受ける。
Okay. That was pretty tame. Somehow. Somehow. I'm not convinced. Hmm. Not the one I'm thinking of. That's for sure. You're watching a stream from today, you saw your Wanikani had a dark mode. Is that like an extension you installed because it looks really nice? Yeah, it is. I can show you very quickly. So Wanikani, here's the Wanikani thing, right? You can go on. Watch out for flashbang. Watch out. Flashbang warning. Okay. You visit the forum. There it is. It's bright. It's fantastically bright. And then here, API and third-party apps, right? And in this, although this is outdated for the new thing, you can still click on this right here. And it's at the very top of this. The extension says it's out of date, but it really isn't. And under themes, you click on themes for the new and improved list. It's an old one before the change, but you click on themes and it is the I believe it should be the breeze dark, or like the elemental dark. Double check. Is it elemental dark? That is not it. One of these still work. It's the breeze dark. So it's the first one. So it's breeze dark 2. So if you search on the forums, if you follow this instructions, the latest version is compatible with it. So this would be the keyword, breeze dark 2. Now that we can get out of this, like all right. And usually the vanilla looks like this already. So however, it requires it requires a stylus. It's a plugin that works with its, and in stylus you can adjust some of the colors, but this would be the, it sucks to study with light mode. It's understandable, normal. Yeah. And if you're sporting the cool OLED tech on your screen, it's exceptionally bright. And, you know, having dark mode is exceptionally dark. So if you're like chilling out, or even on a phone, right? Like a phone, most phones are OLED panels. So the white stuff, if you're doing like the turtle thing, it's exceptionally bright. And one can appreciate exceptionally dark colors. Somehow I still don't know which. Like it's a new word, so it can't be an old word. That's a process of elimination. It could be domo. Despite it being introduced as thank you. Oh no, it's not. Oh wait, I misspelled it.
どうも納得できない。
Yeah, domo. It's not what I would use most of the time. Yeah, somehow. That one's a tough one. Yeah, interjection is the most common one that people would gravitate towards, but I remember that it does have it does have adverbials because it's the do and then the mo. And then mo is the only way I thought this was a possibility is mo is often associated with a negative statement. And then do is case, condition, situation, like how. So this would be, since this is in kana, I guess that would make it the same thing. That's interesting that thanks have become the classic first use, like the most common domo. But if you think about the grammar rules, do is how, and then mo is a modifier often. So that's interesting. Now you can kind of explain why domo means somehow, or in spite of oneself. Even quite. Not so much thanks and very sorry or quite regret in this case. Another.
店で他のシャツをください。
シャツをください。Fair enough.
食べ過ぎて気持ちが悪い。
今日は空がきれいです。
頭をかく。
Okay.
金を盗む。
How are you enjoying Monikani normal if you're still here? What? Since you're talking about the dark mode thing, are you relatively new to Monikani? How's your experience going? Or maybe you're more of a vanilla person, don't want to like dive into too much plugins and scripts because that is a risk, right? Not official support situation. I think I used like the light mode, like the standard Wanikani interface dashboard for maybe like the first 2 months, something like that. All right, let's go into our grammar on Bunpro. We're at 25 today. Oh, hunky dory. It's very difficult to know which state of give. I think they might, if it's ambiguous, they would accept both. Just kidding, they didn't. So
おじいちゃんは古い自転車をくれた。
kureta was noted as someone you're distant from the someone and it's within the in group, that you're giving it to someone in group, right? However, most of the examples deal with in group, so you're just kind of winging it. Unless I'm misinterpreting, right? It varies what is in the in group and what is in the out group from person to person. Oh, I was gonna try to do like the polite thing, which I don't write often. It's probably E, not A, right? Yeah, it's a teiru situation. So shimate Oh no, it's just imas works actually. What? Progressive polite, right? So, oh wait. No, I guess we could use kata, but then where does the polite thing come from? Definitely. Huh. How am I? How am I goofing this up? There's no way. There's no way it's. There's no way it's not a Godan, right? I mean, Ichidan. I mean, it could be.
喫茶店はもう閉まっています。
Oh, it's probably because the ma is outside. That's probably what I'm supposed to think of. Because the ma is outside of the kanji. Fair enough. Rinku. Oh. How do we break? What?
彼女はリンクと別れた。彼女はリンクと別れました。
Too many syllables. I had too many kana. Okay.
彼女は勉強するのが下手。
Could you try a grammar point that's more casual here? But it says literary. Oh, maybe like
掃除をしたけれどもまだ汚い。
パスタを買いに行ってスパゲッティを作ります。
Spaghetti. Okay. Hmm. Standard. Sugiru. Oh, pass. I think Sugiru doesn't require for verbs. How does Sugiru work? I think. Oh, it's probably or do I conjugate? How am I do I have to conjugate the I think so. You take the stem. Oh wait. You don't need to modify the stem, right? And then I have to conjugate Tsukiru. Hmm. Oh, it's probably the verb stem for the mas form. Wait. Good? What? Past. I don't know how you would get. This is Sugiru is a. What would we treat it as? We would treat it as a go down Lu. So I don't think this is right. How how does it's definitely the must form. So maybe like definitely Aki. Then if I need to do the past, do I conjugate? It just says past standard, but it would be this. Hmm. Yeah, nothing of it actually says pass at the moment. So did I not type this before?
漢字を書きすぎたから手が痛い。
I guess I didn't. That is then that ending would suggest I thought initially that you drop the ru and then you do the past as though it's an ichidan. But if I remember, Tsugiru could have been a godan. A godan ru verb. No, it's not. I was looking for the negative form. I needed a negative form example.
"友達に温かいセーターをもらった」。
難しい漢字を覚えましょう。
This is on order. I mean, let's try adding something else to the end. Once all.
晩ご飯を食べてからお風呂に入る。
Once, right?
難しいのは歴史だ。
そのケーキはもう食べた。
金曜日に買い物に行きませんか？
このレストランにします。
Oh, polite.
静か。静かで。
Wait.
"この公園では毎週末多くの人が走っています。
Yeah. So that one verb was actually an exception. It's the other way around. Yeah, it's the other way around. Yeah, it's the other way around to tell go done and each done. But that one verb was an exception.
彼は漢字を書くのが上手でしょう。
Intend. I mean, could go to like something like Uru. Or maybe it's like something that you haven't done, but you're going to do it? Or you could do like all I can think about is like Mayani. No, that doesn't. That's want. I'm thinking of Thai form. Like I was thinking maybe something like okay. Let's see, you intend to wake up tomorrow. Potential. Yeah, so my only thought is that doesn't fit there either. Hmm. Could be no. Why would Made need? We could do maybe like Ninaru. That's to become, but you intend to be awake. Like you tend. What would that be? Narima. See, the thing I want to type is like ni naritai. Like I want to become awake early in the morning. Other thing it would be like masho. Shall we? No, that doesn't. That's a multiple people. There's also modded, but what does that have to do with polite? How is that something I can conjugate? I don't see modded anywhere. Or mada, not made. Maybe the intent is coming from. No, Iru doesn't work. What other intents do we have? Oh, right. Tsumori da. Oh. How about a grammar pattern that's a bit more oh, that's not polite. Oh, like maybe like tsumori desu?
明日早く起きるつもりです。
Okay. That's a weak one. Tsumori. Is this talking about Monkey D. Luffy? Say what? I thought Akai. Oh no. Okay.
Luffy さんは明るくていい人ですね。そうですよ。
How many Luffys are there? You know what I mean? Light? Oh, I need the
京都へ行きます。
head part.
これは大変な仕事です。
Sakara wa Kage o oh, give away.
宝箱の鍵をあげます。
Have a party to do?
パーティーをする。
Okay. Could you try a grammar point that is more casual? Yes.
お母さんもこの店に来る。
Didn't see the standard.
まだ宿題をしているでしょう。
What? Oh, have you ever seen? Like me. I think we're gonna do like mita, right? Mita koto ga arimasu ne? Arimasu ka?
私の家を見たことがありますか？
A request. Totte kudasai. Ne?
ここから写真を撮ってください。
Okay. Please do not eat. Do I need to coo it up? Haven't I? It's a request. Abunakute kudasai. Ne? I mean, you could also do no. It would have a feature on that. I'm being too polite?
それを食べないでください。
That's fine. I'm not being too polite. Okay. Okay. Well then, I'm gonna say it's Sa. Sa shows an expectation of the other person. Can we say this in without expressing expectations? Oh.
子供、勉強は嫌いだ、父。じゃあ遊びましょう。
Ama?
封筒佐々木信子様鈴木健より
同僚に聞く。すみません、今何時かわかりますか？
ドアを開けてください。
天気予報士が台風が来ると言った。
あなたはなぜ背が高いのですか？
僕は2025年に今の彼女と結婚するつもりだ。
Oops.
大学生になる前に世界を旅行する。
テストの結果を待つ。
誰か私の名前を呼びましたか？
What? Oh wait, just kidding.
私は力がある男性が好きです。
母の日なので母にお花を買いましょう。
彼女は賑やかな人だ。
Story.
校長先生の話はいつも長すぎます。
トンネルの中は真っ暗です。
あなたはホラーやサスペンスの映画が好きですか？
私は筋肉質な男の人が好きです。
あなたは今までにオーロラを見たことがありますか？
エミちゃんのママは若い。
遊園地内では歩かなくてはいけません。
And maybe they're looking for like
僕の娘はアイドルです。そして息子もアイドルです。
先週は私の誕生日でした。
さあ、やるぞ。
警察に捕まる。
もう少しゆっくり話してください。
この漫画は面白いです。
what do we have other than it? なぜhow shall I say them? Phrases do I have? Or maybe like
ええ、何と言えばいいかな。
okay.
早く起きて子供たちの弁当を作る。
朝はテレビでニュースを見ます。
Let's use a simplified and casual form here. I guess.
あの人は女かな？
父が娘に、お前は肉より魚の方が好きだろ
う Or is it more like a peer? You wanted to switch your Anki to dark mode, but it's too different, so now you're married to light mode. Nice. Someone once told me, here's a fun little short story, James. Someone once told me, they stopped by Duolingo when this was during the first year. And their message was, how can you stare? How can you, or it's more like along the lines of how can you stand having those letters burned into your eyes. And I asked him to clarify. It's like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, do you mean like these things will like sear those shapes into your eyes? Because technically, this is coming from that reflex where when you have overexposure, right? When you're overexposed to a bright light source, kind of like staring at the sun, right? And then you look away and then you still have the after image of the sun, overexposure, right? So I was doing Duolingo exercises, the writing exercises, like where you stare at a screen and you see them, and then I was like, okay. And they said, yeah, that's what I mean. Like if you stare at and their argument is that this is very concentrated, right? It's very concentrated. And my thought that I was trying to communicate to this person, the person left, by the way, they didn't stay for this rationale. Now, there's a difference between staring at something that isn't regulated, right? The sun is unregulated. It creates overexposure. Your monitor is very different. White is still the intensity of white. Now, a lot of times people would argue, well, yeah, then white would have a higher concentration than, right, than like blue, for example, or gray. And you can kind of make an argument for that white would have a distinct concentration. But the difference between like a different color and white might not be as big as an unregulated source. Now, I am on an OLED panel now. So OLED panels, this was 2 years ago. That's before I was on an OLED panel. Usually when you have, now I'm generalizing quite a lot, but usually when you have not an LED, an LCD, LCDs are backlit. So the difference between something that is absent of color or of like lights is not as great as one might think. So in these concentrated fields, when it comes to like an LCD panel, like is this part, like this little part within the circle, more like a lot substantially brighter than this one? It really isn't that much big of a difference. However, now you used to stare at the sun as a kid. I looked at the sun a couple times when I was younger. So there's another thing. This person says they're getting eye strain and like these things are seared into your eyes, right? And that's why they only use light mode. That was the whole idea. They only use light mode because then everything else is white. So that somehow diffuses the total lumens is what they're going at. So at first I thought, oh, that kind of makes sense. So I try to rationalize it, right? It's like, oh, you could make an argument that, especially on an OLED panel, darker colors do mean less light in a way. Like if you turn everything black, legitimately the LEDs that are in the back, they are off. They're legitimately just off, right? And even then, this person's rationale was different. It was a little bit more complicated. When I asked them, it's like, oh, so what do you use? They said that they use light mode because then the things they're looking at are dark. And I don't know what to tell them, but if they have an OLED, I could kind of see that it won't sear your brain, but then everything else is intense. Like everything else has the highest lumen. So if you're arguing from an LED standpoint, a light mode means you're being blasted with more lumens. Yeah, you're looking at the whole screen, so the intensity is like magnified when you're on an OLED panel. Now, hear me out, it still works. The argument is still lessened, but not lessened by much when you're thinking about an LCD panel. An LCD panel, it's still backlit. So whether you're like, it's negligible in a sense, whether you're looking at a specific color or a specific like how dense or the area it is, because the whole panel has to be lit. So in terms of actual photons like hitting your eyeball when they're making an argument, like if it's going to strain their eyes because more light is slamming into their eyes, so causes strain, that most people still have LCD panels. However, when you're looking at your phone, right, like the person might be talking about the phone because Duolingo is a mobile app. All of your phones now, at least most standard people, like people who make that comment, would be looking at an OLED panel. And yes, you could say that staring at that, you know, at that very specific line, but they're all regulated across their pixels. So yes, you could see a difference, provided that you're assuming everything else is black. And then like your text is slight gray. You know, like a much smaller intensity. But this person was making an argument for light mode. That is not true. That's like the opposite effect, where all of your pixels are lit up, and then the thing you're staring at, you're legitimately multiplying the lumens that are slamming into your eyes on an OLED panel. Because when it's black, it's actually largely the absence of light. That's what makes OLED panels excellent, right? Like that's why your phone, if you have an LCD panel, it always looks like they're whites and stuff, and darkness always bleeds, right? Because there's still a backlit. They're trying to cancel the light, like prevent the light from shining through. In an OLED panel, the actual like LEDs are turned off. They're just simply off. So you could make an argument with that. That's where it got weird. Like that person was talking about light mode, and my first thought is like, and I'm not sure that's how that works. And obviously I don't know that much about the literal lumens and the effects. Like I still don't know how much ocular impact does that have on your eyes when it comes to strain and whatnot. Oftentimes the behavior of looking at a screen, the behavior actually supersedes the delta in lumens. So like whether you're staring at, you know, when you're talking about like you're adjusted to light mode and dark mode, the behavior accounts for a lot more of the eye strain. How do you spell strain? Oh, eye strain? Like persistent eye strain, than the actual delta of the lumens. So like if you're looking at a light mode, right, for a really long, like for a specific amount of time, it's actually the behavior that leads to the eye strain more so, in my opinion, than the actual negligence of adjusting your delta in lumens. So like if you use light mode for like 2 hours, and then you use dark mode for 2 hours, whichever preference you have, but you do it, when you compare the actual eye strain, the delta in the lumens that you're trying to save, like between light mode and the argument is, a lot of people say dark mode is better for your eyes, for example, and then light mode because there's less eye strain. This is negligible. Like as far as the statistics go, for now, for what I understand, it's negligible. The behavior that is most associated with eye strain is the behavior of compulsively using screens. So it can be that more lumens create eye strain, but it's more lumens over time. So the eye strain comes from excessive exposure to looking for something. Like your eyes are tired, but you're addicted to your screen. That behavior is causing extended use of your eye despite your body telling you to rest, right? So that has been, in my opinion, again, this is all corollary. There's not enough evidence to test like the delta in lumens on dark mode and light mode can actually preserve or some eyes. And here's another one extra. This conversation comes up a lot because kids kind of, like younger people kind of ask me these, and I'm not a ophthalmologist or an optometrist. I did study some things about the eyes, and then like I don't know enough about display technology and whatnot. However, what I can gather is there's even more so than that. A lot of people talk about myopia, right? These are the two common things, like eye strain from more light from your technology. Technology, the source of the light is regulated. So the way it's regulated, it normalizes the thing. So you can say certain things like light mode, yes, more light is hitting your face, but it's not in a uncontrolled way like staring at the sun or staring at something very bright that is overexposing your eyeballs. So that's besides the point. And then there's myopia, which is when people talk about nearsightedness, where and they interchange nearsightedness with myopia, and then they talk about how eye strain is connected to the increase in myopia and nearsightedness. This is still kind of corollary. There's no causal link that is very definitive. Eye strain can lead to eye problems, but the screen, this is where the screen thing comes in. Like looking at the screen is not necessarily statistically driving myopia or nearsightedness. Like the idea of always staring at a screen, because you're always staring at a screen, somehow you've developed myopia. In fact, actually a lot of times the behavior triggers something that is already going to happen. Myopia happens when you age and whatnot, and a lot of people who have myopia is coincidental with their behavior of eye strain. It's not like myopia disappeared all of a sudden when there weren't screens around. So like the question right now is asking, like, if you're compulsorily looking at a screen, is it really the lumens, like the idea of being exposed to a bright screen, that is driving myopia, nearsightedness, maybe eye strain and whatnot? I lived in a time before screens, like that type of screen exposure, like this type of screen exposure. I wore glasses before this compulsory screen tech has been available. So it's very difficult to know if there's an increased prevalence for myopia is because now the behavior is driving diagnoses of myopia. Like it's the behavior that's creating the cause, as opposed to like the lumens. It's hard to decouple them. So light mode and dark mode, it was the most recent like controversy, or it's not really controversy. It's kind of just, it's hot because it's still in the area of you can't decouple it from the behavior. So like, are you watching a screen because you want to, and you're overusing the screen, creating a straining effect? And it is and it could be negligible between how bright the screen is or what color the screen is. Like there was the whole thing about selling, I'm sure you've came across this, James, where they were selling like glasses, like performance glasses, performance lenses, not for prescriptional, like people with myopia. I have myopia, so I'm nearsighted at an early age. When I was 13, my eyesight like reached like 2.0, around there, 2.0 to 3. you have to wear glasses in order to see certain things. So my eyesight has largely normalized a little bit around 3 for like the last 10 or so years. And then there was this whole thing about the screens, lumens, the type of wavelength. I talked about this. I had the privilege of knowing and meeting and even being part of a partner lab for like a rotation in one of the labs that came up with those studies that were really heavily extrapolated to how light exposure, right, the whole blue light thing, can affect like circadian rhythm, right? But it's a very large leap of logic, and it was in a mouse model that where your photoreceptors, your rhodopsin and whatnot in your photoreceptors can create shifts in circadian rhythm when exposed inappropriately to extended light, like exposure, right? And then somehow that was also correlated with the idea of the wavelength and frequency of that light exposure. And this was, also derived from the idea that humans get light exposure from the sun that can entrain the circadian rhythm, right? Many animals have varying circadian rhythms, and that ties with melatonin, the balance, like melatonin and serotonin, the two things going back and forth and cycling, right? And the lenses thing, that's crazy how that business came and gone. Like it like immediately became like an esports, like an esports multi-million-dollar thing, and then it just disappears. They're still around. They're not like completely gone or something like that, but there's still glasses where you wear specifically for like blue light intensity and stuff. And then we still have technology, right? Nowadays, your phone has like night modes and stuff, which they would then deliberately pivot certain wavelengths, because that is true. It's still technically true based on that guy's like suggestion about wavelengths and colors, but the person wasn't explaining it in a way that makes sense, like kind of demonstrate that they read into this. They simply read somewhere that black light is bad, white light is good, or something like that, or like you don't want to stare at concentrate, and that's fair enough. And that person never stayed. I really genuinely wanted to talk to him about it. Nowadays, yes, lower wavelength, right? Lower wavelength, like blue lights have shorter wavelengths, but they are technically higher in intensity because of their higher frequency. Does that create a significant shift in eye strain, like the eyes hitting you? Like if blue light, if you blast someone's eye with the same output, right? Same total output, because our monitors are not normalized to like normalizing to frequency, or in other words, the wavelength part, right? And yes, it's true that wavelength has some relations with intensity, right? So like when you're staring, blue light could be more intense perceivably, like perceiving blue light or affecting our eyeballs can be more intense because of its shorter wavelength. How significant that actually does impact our like eye strain, myopia, and circadian rhythm and all that stuff, it's still kind of hard to say, because there's inevitabilities with behavior. And one of the behavior is like you probably heard this, James, like back and forth. People talk about this a lot. Like, oh yeah, don't watch blue light things because then you can't sleep, right? You can't sleep. And yet, anecdotally, the behavior kind of masks this, because there's also associated behavior habits that people sleep by entering a ritual that ends up exposing them to blue light, like having their phone on to look at something until they fall asleep. That situation, right? And the phone would not be in some serendipitous night mode or a non-blue shifted mode. They simply looked at the screen until their behavior triggered a habit formation in which they slept. So this type of stuff creates so much noise, and that's what I wanted to talk about with that stranger. But that stranger basically just said like, well, you know, continue searing Japanese into your back of your eyeballs if you like. I'm gonna stick with light mode. And I'm like, okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I kind of want to sear these kanji figuratively. I kind of want to sear these kanji into the back of my retina so I can remember them. Such an interesting occurrence. It happened once. Only one person talked about it. They talked about it in that way, and my first thought is there's so many things you could have concluded. That person could have entertained quite a lot of perspectives. However, they embraced a line of thinking that I thought, let's assume that's true. So by their notion, a complete white screen would like sear the entire white background into the back of their retina, which is actually that's kind of like looking at the sun. There's a reason why looking at the sun during a total eclipse is deleterious, and not staring at the entire sun is still deleterious, but it's more diffuse. Like, it's hard to argue how that works, but I like to think that when you have a unregulated source, when an object comes around, light still wraps around the object. Monitors don't do that, right? Like when you're looking at monitors, the nice thing about modern technology is that all the LEDs that are paving on your monitor, they're regulated, they're normalized to their, I don't know what it's called, like their output in their power or something like that. Super interesting comment that I've heard once. Like if I look away, I guess you could, my screen is fairly dim. And oh, here's one that's really interesting. I will add one more funny thought to think about here. Your brain, technically, not your eye, sorry. Your brain does auto contrasting. So this is not taken into account very often, but you can demonstrate it. Auto contrasting, I missed a couple words. Auto contrasting is when you have white and you have it next to certain colors, like a black on white screen. Contrast actually goes up because your brain corrects it. I think that's what, I forgot what it's called. Let's see. There's a phenomenon. Vsauce does a lot of these fun things. It's called the oh, it actually doesn't go up. It goes I think it's supposed to go up when, say, like you have a whitish background next to white text. I think it's called the simultaneous brightness contrast illusion. It's basically the brain automatically adjusts the brightness based on the surrounding context, not just absolute luminance. So I think it goes, I forgot which direction it goes. Yeah. So here's the thing. It goes the other way around. So when you have a white thing on a, let's say, a black background, there is less adjustment that your brain is doing. But when you have something like a white and then a lighter shade of white, you can see this effect happen where the shade versus the actual color changes because your brain adjusts the contrast between two things that are close. So it's very difficult to demonstrate other than, oh wait, hang on. This is a, let me, like, where's the, I like this one image. Oh, wait. There are plenty of ones you can look at. I wanted that simple one. Oh, these ones are pretty trippy. Let me, like, for example, this. I need to zoom in, but see, when you're looking at this, obviously it varies through our screens. You're gonna see regions of white, regions of darker. So like there are darker regions, there are white regions, right? All throughout this. They're varying in intensity or contrast or however you perceive lumens, right? And there's no change. Like this is white and black. That these are, all of these things are of the same value. Like they're normalized values. So when the monitor is like blasting you with these patterns, right? These are, you can't, it's very difficult to perceive. Even if you have an opinion about eye strain being directed towards how bright something is, your brain adjusts to the perception of the brightness or the luminance of something. And so therefore it's not all that reliable. But the idea is that despite things burning into your brain and whatnot, being able to understand like the concept of how your monitors work and where the light source comes from and whatnot can go a long way to offsetting the dissonance that can happen. It looks like it's moving. It should if your eyes move around. So the image, if your eyes move around, right? When your eyes are circling around the image, your eyes are auto-correcting. So when you're staring at this, I was going to try to give this guy the benefit of the doubt because depending on where you're looking at the screen, it does adjust. So when you have like a wiggly pattern like this and then another wiggly pattern inside and then it has different shades, depending on where your eye is looking, it's going to adjust the neighboring contrast. And it's so, like, it's such a cool thing that the eyes can do, or our brain, technically our brain can do. And lots of evolutionary biologists, you know, you start wondering like why does our brain do that? And it helps us, like, one rational, you know, logical after the fact, post facto explanation would be, well, how else are you going to perceive contrasts, you know, contrast objects and perceive things that look alike, like in intensity and visual. So there's lovely books about it. I personally, how I came across this is obviously Vsauce. Vsauce has been such a staple in my life. Like I'm not as old as he is, of course, but He loves doing these things, and he talks about books and whatnot. If you want to see like really cool images, really eye things, our modern technology has produced lots of convenient ways to test what your brain does to how you perceive. Like, there is this one where like the whole screen is like a huge mess, but if you focus on a very specific point and like look through it, like pretend like you're looking through it, you can see like 3 images moving at the same time. But when you like focus back out, all it looks is like white noise. It's crazy. I did it a couple times, and some of these are really wild. And that's kind of one of those things where you start thinking, I don't want to make people cynical or delusional, like be what is that word? Disillusioned, right? Disillusioned, where the idea is like, oh, never believe what you see. The idea is in human perception is relative to human perception. And when it comes to light and whatnot, it's good to combine what you know about what's happening with a device versus what your brain is doing. Because your brain is fantastical. We already talked about the thing where, I don't know if you were around, but Procol asked me like, why is our lens upside down? But you know, the image that hits our retina is upside down, right? It's the nature of, I guess, whatever was evolved to use, right? So all our images are upside down, right? They look this way, and then our brain immediately flips it up. And you can do this. You can buy glasses that flips everything this way, and it'll look upside down for like a delta t, and it's less than a day. Actually, for a lot it's less than a day, and then it'll be right side up again. The brain will flip it upside down to make it right side up when you impart this. And then when you take the glasses off, it'll take you a couple like hours to a day to adjust, and then your brain will flip it the other way. So you can do this if you want. It's kind of weird. I did it once when I was younger, where like you're trying to play tricks on your brain, but your brain does automate things. Like your lens, because of the way lens works, if an image goes through a lens, it's gonna be inverted when it hits the back of your retina. So then your brain is used to just flipping it back up. So what you see with your eyes is not necessarily the true thing. It's what you see with your brain. Your brain is ultimately the determinants of what you see. So some people might say like, well, then how can you ever believe what you see? Well, you could take pictures, right? We have recording devices. And even then, obviously, look at the picture, you can argue, well, people look at the picture. So what you see in a picture might be different from other people, right? Fair enough. It just keeps getting deeper and deeper. Alright, so my mother looks happy. It's a... Okay, we have してる. So maybe like appearance? We have appearance. 出す? 出す? There's no way that's 出す. Like to give off in a... it could be like probably like 見える. Oh no. Appearance. Yeah, I only have the look, so maybe the face. Oops.
母が嬉しそうな顔をしている。
Yeah, the face. Now we're reading the Japanese as opposed to the English. The English does not, it's not the greatest. Like, wait, you know, haha ga, right? Ureshisou. Ureshisou na. And I'm like, okay, well, that's happy what is happening. Like, what is happening, it still is the face. Even though the face is not in the English sentence. Right. Oops. What? Kin? A formal version of kin. Formal version of kin. America no something. から1ドル。Are we looking for like man? Like using man just normal. Oh, it could be way or like property or direction or orientation. So it's probably kata.
アメリカの方から1ドル札をもらった。
次は何をするの？
次は何をするの? I like how they said literally put out your voice to help out.
喉が痛いときは声を出さない方がいい。
That's exactly what happened with looks happy. It's literally a happy face. Happy faces, what they're going for. And then this is similar. I think Chinese really does it for me when it comes to like thinking in this way. I do still literally think in this way when I'm reading the English. Like when I read this with English. I don't actually read this oftentimes. Nowadays, not that I've done it my entire life. I go back and forth, but nowadays it's more recently. It's more like, oh, I like how this is expressed. Like that's an interesting way to look at it. Why am I learning Japanese? I consume Japanese media. QWERTY, UIOP. So you did QWERTY right across the row. OP, then 1, 2, 3. Then you have the string XQ. Yeah, that is a good reason. Thanks. Are you interested in learning Japanese too?
僕は男の人が好きだ。
You're learning Chinese and you wish you enjoy Chinese content? So why are you learning Chinese?
何か言ってほしい。
Family? Possibly? Friends? School? Kodomo no sewa. An interesting way to say that. What type of ask do we have? Ask. That could be taken out of context. What type of ask? The take? No. I still think it's a take or something like that. Not toru though. Request. Verb. I'm gonna throw something out generically. I feel like this might be das because of the way sewa. Nope. Huh. Oh, it could be request though. What is request? Tanomu.
子供の世話を頼む。
So can I buy it? And so it'd be a linker. What kind of so can I have? I'm thinking more like a phrase like ja or sa. So oh, it could be just dakara or like because it's cute, so I can't buy it. So dakara.
妻が夫にこの服は可愛いね。だから買ってもいい？
だから買ってもいい？もういい？君は something 勉強しているの？Fine.
君はどんな勉強をしているの？
Please come this way. Oh, there's こちら。Forward. So it has to be a forward, please. Could be どうぞこちらに来てください。Oh no, that is not it. Oh, there's also ください in it, and then there's wait, hold up. I still think it's どうぞ。
どうぞこちらに来てください。
Okay. That's interesting. That's like a host. So many extra politeness.
「石鹸で足を洗う」。
Which morning are we talking about?
今は午前何時？
Oh, 何時? Oh, I should thought about time. 何時?
父が息子に「お前は薬が嫌いだろう」。
leave. We can't go. How do we leave? What way can we leave? Oh, I think I just wrote it incorrectly. Or is that not? No. I thought it was like Daru. Oh? Or dead. Oh no, it's Deru. Deru, not Deru. Oh.
ご飯を食べ終わったのでお店を出ましょ
出ましょう because of Deru done.
娘は習字の筆で漢字を書くのが上手です。
Okay.
塾の先生が生徒にちょっと静かにしてください。
Only the fish part? Oh, fish
僕
fishing.
の母と父の共通の趣味は魚釣りをすることだ。
Good? I learn by playing. Oh, that playing. What?
宿題をやる。
音楽を聴きたい。
Dang it. Considering. To think about.
学校はいじめの問題を真剣に考えることにしました。
Phone? Which phone are we talking about?
友達と電話で話す。
Excuse me.
悪い思い出は忘れた方がいいですよ。
今年は東京でオリンピックが開催される。
Oh, that's cute. I just realized why that's Kotoshi. I see. Uh,
平和な世界を目指す。
目指す。目指す。目指す。目指す。What?
生徒。僕はピアノを弾くのが下手です、先生。私はそう思わないよ。
殺人事件や交通事故で死ぬのは嫌だ。
母が子供に、この買い物袋を持ってください。
私は犬が好きです。でも妻は犬が好きではありません。
名詞。目を強くすらないでください。
私の父と母はまだラブラブだ。
That's interesting. Like this? 服が欲しい。
こんな服が欲しい。
こんな服が欲しい。
子供、
あれ
は
何？
おや、飛行機だよ。
飛行機だよ。Wait, when? Hold up. 私は学校生の when に留学をしたことがあります。だけど、heck! It's like when there, like of that time when it's probably like Toki.
私は高校生の時に留学をしたことがあります。
What? Oh my gosh. Wait.
恋バナたけし。お前の好きな子は誰？さとし。かすみだよ。
Intriguing. How would I know that they were? Skina doesn't give that away. Wa doesn't either. Huh. I guess if they're talking, I guess kasumi da yo would give it away as very casual. I don't know about that one. Huh. Oh, let's use it.
顧客がこれは私が希望したデザインと違うと言った。
I wonder if there's a grammar point on chigau. How do you let out?
ケージから犬を出す。
Can we add something? Oh.
雨は夕方の5時までに止むだろ
う。メアリー、あなたの本はどれ？アスカ。その熱いやつだよ。
このテレビはとても大きいです。
スーパーで友達と会う。
この箱は大きいです。
今木から降ります。
Type of exam are we talking about? Probably
試験を受ける。
父が笑っているのが見えます。
huh.
私にはパン屋さんになる夢があります。
That would have been a little bit tough between. Oh no, that's fine. It is Mieru. I will lead the project. Like to head it, to spearhead it, or to no. It could be just Yaru. When all else fails, just Yaru it.
プロジェクトでリーダーをやる。
I suppose if I typed in Suru, they'd be like, can we have a like less formal way or something? Wait, didn't we decide? I see the enroll. Suru. Decide. I mean, Suru. Direct object. It can take a direct object. This is probably going to be hairu to enter. Oh, no, not hairu. Ireru. Or is it hairu? Oh, just kidding. Maybe hairu? Alright, decide. I was thinking like to enter a school. And to enter in the process, I don't know, Roman, but it's Nyugaku is here. Nyugaku suru, sorry, there. So it is an actual decision, highlighting enrollment. Oh, what is another way to express decide for this? Looking for a verb. I thought maybe ireru. Ireru is good enough. Yaru, I mean, Watasu doesn't make sense. Oh wait, it could be search. Like sagasu? Sagasu, like when you decide which school you're also searching. Maybe sagasu. What? How could this decide be? Throw Yaru in there. Decide. Oh no, we do have a decide. It's not. So we have Tano, right? Tanomu. Tanomu is not Tanomu, but I'm kind of curious what they would say if I put Tanomu. They just straight up mark it as wrong? Well, that's interesting. It's not Tanomu I'm thinking of. We're like, I was testing Tanomu, but there's another one. What is it? Kimeru.
入学する学校を決める。
What's the alternative? Just kimemas. I kind of want to contrast this with. So we have kimeru to decide to clench, right? And then we have also Tanomu. Oh, that's a request though. To ask for. Okay, that's fair. Yeah, that's. Whoops.
「おじがおいに一緒に庭でスポーツをしましょうか」。
祖父を探す。
この電気屋が安いですか？
Can't tell.
インドに行く。
この花瓶は私のものです。
The hand over. Okay.
母に手紙を渡す。
あなたは牛肉が好き？
鶏肉を食べるときは焼いたり炒めたりします。
Another time? Another time. I just thought I just went straight to like the nani naninka. Maybe we go with time. No. Another time. Maybe it's more like expressing future? Kareto, maybe kareto, oh yeah, kore kara kind of fits there. Asobimasu. It's just like a future time from now on after this. I mean, that's another time, so to speak. What else we got? Like, itsu? No, that's not enough. It's not interrogative. Could say. Oh, it says. Oh, to. No. To is modifying. It's talking about abimasu. What's another time? We could use kare. I mean, not kare. Hoka. But there's no time in it. Yeah, time's missing. So let's go with. Nope. God, that doesn't make it. With him another time. After doesn't quite make sense. Truth. maybe like the next time? Like kon, what do we had before? Kondo is kind of non-specific.
彼と今度遊びます。
Okay. It's really non-specific. It's like next time. Oh yeah, it does have another time. Yeah, shortly or soon. Okay.
封筒の中に手紙を入れる。
Pole? Which pole are we talking about? 引く？
ドアを引く。
おっと、トイレの掃除をしたよ、妻。ありがとう。
Nice. Oh.
僕は新しいことを知ることが好きだ。
Add an extra syllable. I don't know why.
その切手が欲しいです。
Bring him into a group. That could be.
彼を仲間に入れよ
Ayo.
この国の文化はユニークです。
Uni.
う。今日は
Whoops. It's fine. How about a non-low word that has the same meaning? Yes. How about it?
試合に勝つ。
Let's try thinking direction. Oh. Wait. Right here. No. 家は私のです。The heck? No. Here. Like, so like, どちら? I mean, we already. I mean, no, こちら。こちら。
こちらの家は私ので
こちらの
す。
家は。Way home.
友達と話したり店に寄ったりしながら家に帰る。
僕の父が経営している薬局が雑誌に載りました。
動物園で牛を見る。
What? Imagine cows in a zoo.
今日は天気がいい。
Okay. I'm still really behind on my rest, so we're gonna continue to take some rest days here. But this is as close as I'm gonna get to a rest day, right? All right. We're gonna keep going here. I was thinking of doing some active recall. I think we're okay for now. Let's take a look at Cram for a moment. Welcome to Cram. This feature allows you to freely review grammar and vocab for whenever you feel like you need a little extra practice. Anything you do inside Cram stays inside Cram. Your success and struggles have no impact on your normal review SRS timing, right? For more detailed explanation, you can view all of these articles found inside the support and FAQ section of Bunpro. Okay, excuse me. Right, so you can just straight up, or you can add lessons, right? So if we straight up went boop 127, And we can mess around with these things. That's fun. Additional settings, number of questions per item. Set how many times each item will be reviewed during your cram. I see. Complete mode. Study every sentence from each item you select. This could result in a lot of items. Oh, from each item you select. Interesting. No spoilers. Only study with previously seen or reviewed sentences. This will result in 0 for items you haven't studied yet. Okay, but we don't. It's a moot point because we have. Interesting. So we'll do this soon. Try out the different things because we haven't done any of the other. We've only done input, like typographical input. We'll do that soon enough. Not today though. Way over budget yesterday. Alright folks, that's a wrap for my Bunpro session today. If you're gonna watch this later, arigatou gozaimasu. As always, feel free to follow along, pick up Bunpro for yourself. Give it a try. You're always welcome to come on by, yap, discuss, talk about things, or say something and then I answer and then you leave beforehand. That's perfectly fine too. Hopefully whoever gets their answers continue to motivate themselves, right? Good luck. Best of luck to those. So until next time, 皆さんまたね。見てくれてありがとう. Right, see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Got one more. We got to do our Hansa Hero session. So before I get to that, I'm gonna take a short break, bathroom break, and whatnot, and I'll be back. Thank you.